joy of soul winning. You know, there's no greater joy than you personally winning somebody to Christ. There's nothing greater in the world. You say, oh man, for me joy is riding a roller coaster. I just love doing this, or I love going to the movies, or I love going to a rock concert and get down there in the mosh pit. You know, I love to go out. Look, once you are a soul winner, all that stuff is going to seem boring. It's the truth. I mean, look, I grew up, I was a worldly teenager. I was at the rock concerts, and I was a Christian. I got saved when I was 6 years old. Okay? I mean, I know I was saved when I was 6 years old. I promise you that. But I'm going to tell you something. All throughout my teenage years, I was at the rock concerts. I was out there with the movies and the friends and the fun and worldliness. And, I'd stop in at church on Sunday morning, but the rest of my life just didn't really have a lot to do with church. But I'm going to tell you something. When I was 17 years old and I walked into an independent fundamental Baptist church, and I looked a whole lot different than I look right now. I'll tell you right now. I had my bleach blonde hair all punked out. I had my worldly clothes on. I walked into that church. I didn't agree with half of what the pastor said. And it was all the half about all the sin that I was doing in my life. I didn't agree with any of it. And I didn't change. I still did all the same stuff. But I'm going to tell you something. Within 2 weeks of going to that church, they had me out soul winning. And they paired me up with somebody that I just watched them, and I watched them, give the gospel. I watched them win somebody to Christ. And I went with them for a couple hours. And after 2 hours, I said, hey, let me get the next door. And he thought I'd done this before. I had, But I was just memorizing what he said. And so I knocked on the door after 2 hours of watching him. I knocked on the door, and I did the best I could. I tried to do what he did, and I failed at it. I tried to give the gospel, and I didn't do a very good job. I said, well, just come to church tomorrow then. And that girl that I was talking to like a 10-year-old girl. She came to church the next day, believe it or not. It was my first time, so I invited this girl. She came to church, and somebody else wanted to Christ. And I was thrilled. I was happy, because I said, boy, I had a part in this. This girl came to church, somebody wanted to Lord, because I invited her. But, I didn't want to stop there. I wanted to be the one to get somebody saved. And so I kept coming, and it took me months of going with other people, and I watched them, and I tried to learn from them. And after a few months, I got somebody saved myself. And I'm going to tell you something. Nothing had changed about my life except that I'd become a soul winner. I was still into all the wrong things, the sin and the whatever. But once I got into soul winning, once I started seeing people saved, it was so much more fun. It was such a more real joy to win somebody to the Lord than just the frills and the cheap thrills that the world has to offer. Right. It just wasn't the same anymore. Yep. And the rock concert wasn't the same. The movies weren't the same. The music wasn't the same. It all just got boring to me in comparison with winning somebody to Christ, and they're going to go to heaven. And then to see that person get baptized, and to see that person begin to read the Bible and live for God. Hey, that's what changed my life. And that's what's going to change your life. My life didn't change just from coming to church and listening to preaching. My life changed when I went out soul winning. That's the truth.